Trident Wargaming. Build it, paint it, play it.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Another episode of Bolt Action on Trident Wargaming. And coming back to the podcast after a little while, my battle buddy, Mr. Jason. Yay!
It's me.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
What have you been up to, man? What have you been doing?
Well,
Partying,
partying, hardying. Yeah, No. I am an old man and very boring. But, yeah.
Old man. What does that make me? No. Ancient. Yeah, no. Oh, boy. Always going to have some good laughs. But, so yeah, welcome back. Another Bolt Action episode, as I said before. We're revisiting our little, campaign, Stalingrad campaign battles that we were doing in the past. It's been a long, long time since we've even talked about it. We haven't really met up, but we are going to be bringing it back, getting some games in, running some scenarios.
P.S. I think it's literally... What's today, the 20th? I think it was around the 20th. Maybe it was the 18th for some reason. It's sticking in my mind. Last year of March. It was a weekend in March where we did our first Stalingrad battle. Last year.
You know what? I don't doubt it. I didn't write it down when we did it, but I'm sure you're right.
It's been a while.
Yeah. I know we tried to get together a couple times here, but it just didn't work out. But we do want to continue these scenarios. I know I've had some feedback on some guys who are listening that they really like when we talk about the battles that we have and running some of the scenarios and talking about like the theater selectors in them and stuff. So why not bring it back and have a good time with it again and share our experiences and our thoughts with you guys about our battles. So that's what it's all about, is having fun and sharing it with you guys. So
yeah, I'm committed, by the way, to finish every battle in that book.
Yep.
If I have to do it from an old age home, I'm gonna be
I'll get the DATS van to hook up to the trailer so I can bring my gear and terrain and get them to move it in for you. We're going to get this game done, Shit. I'm sure that will happen in the future, but yeah. So we were planning on playing... actually, you know what? Before we even start the scenario...
scratch. Yeah,
before we even start the scenario... Talking about the hobby front. Let's send the SOS as Andy almost jumped right over that, right? So yeah, what's on your hobby front? What's going on? What are you doing?
Well, we got the slow grow, and I've procrastinated. And yeah, I have a week to paint 20 guys.
Well, that's all right.
That's not too bad.
I kind of did the same thing, except that I hammered out those 20 guys on Sunday.
Nice.
So it was pretty good. I ended up getting a whole bunch of the colors. All I have to do now, pretty much got my base colors on, and wherever I was doing any different kind of stuff, metallics, all that kind of stuff, pouches. And now all I need to do is seal them, do my little AK magic that I usually talk about.
Yeah.
Clean them up. And then I was looking at my bases for the DAC for the Germans.
Yeah.
The Afrika Corps. And I wasn't really too happy with the way the bases. They just seemed a little too bland and like almost the same color as the fatigues, right? Which they pretty much
kind of is the idea
are.
of
They
fatigue.
are, but
Yeah.
I wanted it to look a little bit more sandy than gritty. Because, like, I mean, yes, I used sand for the bases,
Yeah.
but at that scale, it doesn't look like it's sand anymore. It's like rubble and rocks, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to be going and grabbing some powders and pigments kind of thing, right? And trying to work that in onto the bases and see how I like it. So, but yeah, for the 500 points for me, those will be done shortly. And then luckily enough, I had painted extra beforehand. So like the next set of points will be pretty much paint a couple minis and it's done. So
Yeah, I think yeah. Sweet.
yeah. So, but I mean, besides that, and you know, you got like 20 guys to go kind of thing.
Yeah, 20 guys to go. But my next round is a tank, pretty much. Everybody else has a tank in this league already at 500 points.
Yeah, exactly.
I made my list like, who the hell's going to bring a tank at 500 points? That's crazy. And then I'm getting my butt kicked all over the place here. It's getting machine gunned to death.
Yeah, see, and that was funny with myself. I didn't take a tank either, or a big anti-tank gun. It was like essentially I made the army to 1,000 points, and I essentially took all my infantry. So my infantry, you know, my 3 squads of infantry, my commander, my MMG, and then my medium mortar.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all going to be painted, right?
Yeah.
Plus, my air observer will be painted, and then I have 6 out of the 7 crew of the 88. That's all painted. So now I literally just have to paint the 88 and the 1 crew member, get them nicely based, and then also I have the Panzer III that I can put in at some point.
Sweet.
Right? And then it's essentially like, okay, well, I gotta put another 250 points in somewhere. So
yeah.
So that'll be options for down the road. But yeah, essentially
that's kind of what I did too. I have almost. I mean, I'm going to have more infantry, but I have a big bulk in this first bit.
Yeah.
Thinking, of course, that everybody was obviously going to do that. Nobody did, just you and me. And
Elias.
Elias, he's doing airborne too.
Airborne.
Well, he's doing airborne, so his airborne are a little more resilient than my.
Okay, so he has a Jeep.
He does have a Jeep. He loves that Jeep. Which, by the way, he has 8 guys left to paint.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Freaking kid. But
that's pretty good.
Yeah, so yeah, the next round though, a tank, boom, I'll be done in 2 days. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, for
and
sure.
The round after that'll be a little bit of support and a little infantry. So it's kind of nice to get the bulk out of the way.
Yeah, and I think in those 2 months coming up, I'll probably have the army done.
Yeah.
So, and then pull out a new project, but keep going with.
That's what I say now. Yeah, and then I'll procrastinate.
2 weeks later.
And
what?
Yeah. Well, there's a week till this round is done. Oh, geez.
Yeah. But it's good to see. I mean, I know we have things have gotten busy for us too, and other hobby products kind of come up as well sometimes, right? So, it happens. But good to hear that things are, still working on things, even though it's slowly and stuff like that. It's always good to hear that people are, working on stuff. So
yeah, this slow grows. There's been a lot of people that came into it. A lot of guys that I haven't seen before.
Yeah, which is cool.
Yeah, totally.
It's really good.
Playing a bunch of games. I like the. I actually really like the small games. I think 750 is a sweet spot. I think that's the sweet spot for a quick-ish game.
Yeah.
You still get a little bit of, bang, but the games roll quick. I think that's the sweet spot for
750.
yeah.
Hmm.
You start getting into 1,000, and to be fair, I like big games too, but especially at the store, I like when you're on a bit of a timetable. I like
Yeah, you only have so many hours to play, and I know, like, I know when you and me play, a lot of times, we enjoy hanging out and
yeah,
playing, and it takes
medium famous for shooting the crap, so to speak, a little bit too much.
But no, it's good. It's I have a couple friends who are like that when we game. It's like we're hanging out, So, so
Yeah,
it's good.
the game is the background to chatting and
Yep.
hanging out with friends. Really,
Exactly. And that's why it's nice with these scenarios, because we know in a lot of these scenarios, the armies can be a bit larger,
yeah,
right? Like this mission here, if we decide to play, 1,000 points, the Soviets actually get 50% more, so you'll be at 1,500, right? So
yeah,
so it's good to. I like to play. I like playing these like at your place when we do play. It's it could be a majority of the day kind of thing, and we just have a lot of great times and hooting and hollering and stuff like that, right? So
oh yeah. When we got the time, like playing at my place or whatever, I
yeah,
love a big, like humongous game, as stupid big as it can get, pushing the game system to its limits where it works, but maybe it's not made for this big.
yeah,
That's fun too in its own in its own right.
that's where we will have to trial the D-Day landings at your place at one time,
Oh, big time.
right?
Yeah, because of course I don't know if people remember, because is that my slow grow army is Canadian Scottish landing on the beaches.
Yeah,
So
yeah. And I think after the Germans that I'm working on right now, I'm probably gonna go and slowly go back onto like my other German force, not the winter force that I have,
yeah,
but the regular blitzkrieg kind of army,
sweet.
and start trying to get those guys done up and out of the way, right? Finish up some projects like that, which would be nice because you can incorporate that into, the D-Day stuff and have those Germans up there and stuff all done up and add in a whole bunch of different units here and there. So
Nice.
plus I need to get cutting that foam to make those beachheads.
Yeah.
So, and you got the table you got the large table to spread everything out and see how it turns out. So, which is pretty
Sweet.
cool.
And the base of the table is a ocean conveniently.
That's right.
So.
That's right. So, cool. So yeah, lots. We always got lots of things on the go for hobby wise. That's currently kind of what we're doing. There's always more planned, of course, and you'll see it on Instagram pages and stuff like that too. Slow Grow has been really good. So once actually the day that this airs, which is the Wednesday, is our next Slow Grow, which is our last 500 point Slow Grow match. So I'm expecting a pretty good turnout. And then at the end of this month, we have our draw for guys who've gotten their stuff painted. And there'll be some draws. Warlord Games was kind enough to send some of one of their packages for the support, just for like the events and stuff again. So I got a lot of goodies actually, in the box, plus some gift certificates as well. So yeah, people will have the option of picking. those individuals that had jumped in on the slow grow and whatnot and pitched in, right? So, but yeah, so that being said, let's jump into this scenario.
Ooh.
So, do not retreat, scenario 4 out of the Stalingrad Campaign Book. 1942, August 26. The 16th Panzer Division is entrenched in like a riverside village of Rhinock, I guess it's what it's called. The scenario has some pretty cool little rules in it that make it fairly interesting.
So just to refresh my memory, this is the Germans have pushed to the Volga north of Stalingrad and have gotten themselves kind of cut off for a bit.
Yeah, the 16th Panzer Division, they've pushed ahead kind of thing, and like I think it's the 6th is like still behind. And so they've entrenched in this village, but they're running out of fuel and they're running out of ammunition. And then the Soviets are going to be pushing hard on them to try to get them to fall back kind of thing, which I believe they do, just in the little write-up that they have for it. So as for like the forces, where are we here? So for the Germans, they get to use the Stalingrad Armored Kampfgruppe theater selector. Essentially, everything is like mobilized, right? Mortarized kind of thing. And then the Soviets get to select from 2 selectors, the Tractor Factory and then the Not a Step Back selector as well. So I haven't taken a look into those just yet, but they do get 50% point advantage against the Germans. So that's where that 1,500 to 1,000 point reference came in. So
yeah, and I'm thinking our last game.
Yep.
I used the Tractor Factory list because it was at the Tractor Factory.
That's right.
So,
and I'm pretty sure I used the same exact selector on you too.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to be using the no step back one.
Yeah.
Just to mix it up a little. If I remember correctly, that selector is actually pretty decent. It gives you a special artillery rule.
So let's see.
With your artillery support guy, your foo.
So notable things about the selector is, let's see here. Siberian squads, rifle squads, LMG squads, that kind of stuff. Student officer squads.
Fairly standard fare for most of it, really.
Yeah, looks like it. Of course, restricted on certain things, but yeah. So the special rules is no transports. So the Soviet forces of the city were almost completely without motorized transport or horses. So any heavy weapons had to be manhandled into place. So no, transport or tows are options for that. And then they have this one off-map battery. Certification. So Soviet players are not allowed to take artillery units. Instead, they represent the considerable firepower amassed on the eastern bank of the Volga. Forward observers taken in this list may order a second artillery strike after the first strike has been resolved. And then they get fanatical defense as well. So Soviet unit can be fanatics at 3 points per model. So that would make them just kind of, strong enough to keep running in, right?
Yeah, yeah. It is at 3 points a model, though. It is beefy enough that you're really only investing it on veteran units or units that aren't going to just die
Melt.
anyway.
Yeah.
You
No,
know,
exactly.
because
Oh, that's
you know,
very, very
I,
true.
I guess the flip side is that I mean you take them on inexperienced, and they're just gonna you can use a relatively even with the 3 points a model, so 30 points for or 36 points for 12 men. Uh, so you're if you take an inexperienced squad, what is that like 120 points all in with that's counting the 36 extra points or something.
Yeah.
So that's not a lot, especially if I throw it at you know something that something beefy you have, and just whatever. I don't care if I win that combat, but I'm gonna be there until
You got to deal with
whittle,
me. Yeah.
whittle you down, right? You got to stick around, tie you up for a bit.
Yeah, and you never know. Sometimes you could get that lucky run and actually take that unit out, right?
Yeah,
So we've seen it. It's happened a gazillion times. And I even know, like, even looking at the German selector, the Panstruppen, pretty much the special rules for that is that, like, if you take any Panzer Grenadiers, they have to have a truck or a SDKFZ 25 1/1.
so that will eat up a lot of points actually.
Yeah.
So not only will the Russians have a numerical advantage, and they can't take transports, which is a restriction, but also transports, they do eat up points, even though I mean there's lots to be said that they're the benefits that they give, but it is something else that I won't be spending points on. Means I'll be putting them into the more standard fare, the
Yep.
more meat and potatoes, and you'll have a little less meat and potatoes.
Well, and that's the thing too. Like, your infantry force will be huge in this battle because not
Yeah.
only not taking vehicles or tows and stuff like that, you're also not taking artillery units.
Well, you can take tanks.
So, yeah, you can. It's the tows, I think, yeah, that they said. But
Yeah, no transports. Yeah.
like, yeah, you're still going to have a mass amount of infantry, right? No matter
Oh,
what.
big time. I'm going to have it anyway. I mean, that's how you have to roll Russians.
So,
I mean, they really are orcs and goblins
yeah.
of
Well, I don't know. They've got their tough units too. So, which is
yeah, biggins.
Biggins. Jesus. Yeah. I haven't heard that in a while.
they, they are orcs and goblins, right?
That's funny. So yeah, that's kind of the selectors for the match for the actual scenario. Speaking of the actual scenario, so essentially, the way the map is set up for this is that the Germans actually have to set up and also place an HQ 18 inches away from the north and south table edge, which I believe are the long table edges in this game. So you're essentially stuck in the middle, right? And then there's the HQ that you have to have and essentially defend. Whoever controls the HQ gets 3 points. And then at the end of the game, 6 turns, 7 if you actually roll the roll for the 7th turn. But the Germans also get a point for each supply that they get recovered, and we'll go into the supplies after this here. And then the Soviets will get 1 victory point per German unit that they destroy.
Yeah.
So, and of course,
here's the rub. This is why the Soviets get double points over the Germans, is because the Germans start winning the game. The very first turn they've won the game, I have to change that because you start with your HQ
Yes.
intact. So you have 3 points right off the hop.
Yeah.
So without doing anything, I have to start either making a major push for that HQ or racking up points in other ways. So that's
And
you know,
you're, yeah,
kind of where they evened it out.
and like the big push, I think the big push is going to be really important for the Soviets because first turn you're actually coming onto the board, right? So you're not actually starting on the board; you're actually coming onto the board. So, like moving and getting into those positions and being able to either take the HQs away or do some damage is going to be critical for the success of your pretty much your army. Now, even though the Germans are, like you said, winning right off the bat, there are a few things that will hinder the Germans in this matchup. One being, so they have, fuel and ammo shortages, right? And there's rules for that stuff. So essentially, with the fuel shortages, you've got a roll, and it's, I believe, what is it, D6 plus 2 for each vehicle. And I think that's, let me see here. Let me pull it up. But it's, you got to do this roll, and it essentially, you get these like fuel supplies. So, page 159 here. Let me see here. Yeah, so fuel shortages. So, the affected player rolls 2d6 plus 2 for each motorized vehicle in their force. So, it's, for example, you roll 3d6 plus 6 for 3 vehicles. So, this is the number that the player has for like fuel units, and these fuel units you can divide between all your vehicles. So they'll have, essentially, they'll use one of these fuel units in order to be able to move per turn. Once they run out, they become immobilized.
And that's one for an advance and a further one for a run, I believe. I could be making that up, though. But I think they differentiate.
Yeah, I think it's just fuel given to each unit. Every unit of fuel allows the vehicle to move once per turn. If the vehicle remains stationary, it does not use the unit of fuel. Attempts to enter the game from off the table, including unsuccessful attempts, counts as a movement and uses up a unit of fuel.
No, never mind. I 100% made that rule up in my head then.
Yeah, I think the petrol's getting to him.
Yeah, whoa.
But yeah, like, so that's one thing, which is neat, because then you really have to designate, okay, so, do I sack some from that truck to put onto my tank instead, stuff like that. But they also have, ammunition shortages as well.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially,
this was a big one.
So essentially what happens is forces suffering from ammunition shortages cannot order more than half of the remaining units to fire. And that includes, fire, ambush, or advance orders, right? And that's per turn. So they don't apply to assaults, obviously. That's a little different.
Yeah, but if you got 8 units, only 4 can shoot.
Yeah, exactly. So you really have to decide what you're going to do and how you're going to do it and what's more critical to you, right? You can't, if you're in a situation where guys are close enough to you that, if you don't deal with them, they're going to mess you up. But on the other side, you got an opportunity to take out a key unit as well. It's like, well, you got to decide. This is your last guys that you can fire this turn.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's going to be
time.
tricky, right?
Especially with the dice mechanic. That's an easy mechanic to get over if it's you go, I go.
Yeah.
But with the dice mechanic, you don't know what's coming up next. So are you going to husband those shots till near the end of the turn, till the dice bag is getting empty? But then are your guys getting am I running up on you? I really like that mechanic. It's kind of I think it will be tricky to play, and I mean you can overcome it, I think, but you'll really have to think about
Your actions.
what you're risking. I mean, it kind of evens out and makes it not such a. I mean, it's a penalty, but not crazy penalty, because you do get to start on the board. You get to pick your positions within the limits, the confines of the scenario, but you do get a fair size deployment.
Yeah.
So that will limit the, if you set up properly, I think it will. It might not be as bad.
Yeah. And the thing too is like the actual setting of the map, of the board. It's not like you're going to be behind all this hard cover. You're in a village that's spread out.
Yeah.
Right. So it's going to be interesting to see where you kind of bunker down and stuff. And on top of that too, you do have the supply drop that happens, which starts on turn 3. And essentially, you pick a point on the board or a unit that is going to be the location of the drop, and then you roll 46 plus the order dice with the little arrow as like a scatter dice. And that's where that supply drop's going to fall. Mm-hmm. As the Germans, you got to go and grab it. Soviets grab it, it's destroyed and lost, right? So.
And here's the thing. Here's the pickle, too. Those supply drops are worth points, yes, but also they can overcome those difficulties.
Yeah.
Those shortages.
Yeah. So like, again, on starting turn 3, you're going to roll on this chart, the German supply drop table, and on a 1 to 3, it's fuel. So the German player would receive 3 units of fuel to be distributed to any of their vehicles. And then on a 4 to 6, it's ammunition. So the ammunition shortage rule does not apply to the German forces for the remainder of this turn and the next. So if the German unit recovers an ammunition supply canister on turn 4, they don't suffer ammunition shortages until turn 6 begins. So that's a big one.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because, and if you don't get that, like if you don't claim it, oh boy.
That's a big blow, because that's when the metal starts hitting the meat, is when you're into turn 4 and 5, so I kind of like that it's basically like a mobile objective. And you don't know where it is. So I can refuse flank on this, and luck will have all of the airdrops go to the opposite side of the board, and you get all those restrictions taken away, basically. So it will force me to spread out too, which will be good, and also mitigate the advantage of having more numbers, right? It'll force me to spread out, because I don't want to
and that's
give you,
like you say it'll force you to spread out, but at the same time, so like this supply drops, and let's say it's the ammunition one. Well, shit, like I need to get that. And
Oh, yeah.
let's say that it was a bad roll, so high numbers on that roll, 46, and it's scattered out of my control zone, essentially, right? Well, now I have to send a unit out to try to grab it. Otherwise, like, I'm going to get screwed really bad.
Yeah.
So, in a sense, it's like you might actually have to make that decision and send out, that unit of
Yeah.
Panzer Grenadiers to go grab it.
Hey,
But-
Hans, go get that thing in the open. I don't want to.
Yeah. As long as it's not a canister of like berets,
Yeah.
I think most of us have seen
Da,
that. So,
da, da,
yeah.
da, da,
yeah. So,
da, da, da.
but yeah, like there's things like that you got to think of, right? Like, oh shit, like, do I sack the unit to go grab it, or do I try to make do with, how the situation I'm in, or am I going to get screwed? Or maybe it's just continuous fuel drops, right? The two of them are fuel drops. It's like, well, shit. So for that whole game, you're only going to be firing half of your guys anyways.
Yeah. Yeah. And I honestly, the fuel, you get the 3d6 or you get 1d6 per vehicle. I mean, unless you roll really badly, you're probably okay anyway.
Yeah.
Right? Because you use one for a so you basically, so the average you're going to roll 4, or so you got 4 turns of fuel, and you get to distribute it how you want, right? So
I mean, okay, maybe the first turn, maybe you're in a good position, maybe you don't move while you're not using that canister, you're not using the unit,
exactly, yeah. But
okay.
I like that it's going to make you think. Like,
This
do I move the tank to get that perfect shot, or do I take the okay shot and save the fuel because maybe I won't get any, and I'm going to want to move on turn 6 if I have to, or whatever. This is one thing I really like, the scenarios out of these books. They're challenging to do in a pickup kind of scenario, in a pickup game, but I love like playing them with the list, with the kind of terrain that we need, with like as intended.
Yes, I
freaking love it. This is bolt action Premier League.
Yeah, at its finest.
Yes, we'll have to sip some tea and or champagne and eat caviar. Well, this is how the rich folk play bolt action.
Yeah, the rich folk. That's funny. But you're absolutely right, though. These scenarios, running them, how they have them described, and like with the actual theater selectors, and then like talking with each other and saying, okay, I'm playing Germans, this one you're playing, Soviets. These are the army selectors, and like we start talking about the units, and we actually sit down and build the armies from these selectors, and then bringing them to the board. Because I remember playing against you on the one game, and I had taken a whole bunch of, like, the whole army had transports, and I think it was actually the same army selector that this one uses.
Oh yeah, in the city there.
And like I got so bogged down, and then in my head I was thinking, I need more infantry. Like I needed more bodies on the board. Right?
Yeah.
So it's cool to see, and like this one would be interesting to play like a couple of times,
Yeah.
and just see how it changes. The supply drop and the ammunition shortages and fuel shortages, I really like those concepts in this scenario, because essentially those 3 rules, like, I can build or use it in kind of an event, right?
Oh yeah, and here's the other thing too, is by playing it in the scenario as intended, with everything as close as we can get to, as the book intends, trying to stay true to the theme, trying to stay true, historically as close as we can using the game mechanics. It allows us to see the mechanic play out
Yes.
100% as intended. So you can kind of see how you can make it work in a more pickup style game, or even in a tournament. Like, if you had a fuel shortage in a game at an event, that would be fun. Especially you apply it to both armies and have a supply drop, or that could mitigate it. Then you really got to. I mean, people are going to bust it out to get that thing. And that's one thing I like about the games where there's objectives beyond just kill points. Is it goes from checkers to chess pretty quickly, where you really got to use your uppity strategery to to try to pickle it out how to do it. And I like that it's trying to pickle it out, the game system, without min-maxing the armies to death, because that's what usually happens when people try to figure out a game. They manipulate the list as much as they can to get exactly which isn't a bad thing.
No,
but I like better when it happens live, when they have to do it on the table to an evolving situation, instead of all of the winning happening without your opponent there. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So I like that anyway.
No, it's doing these scenarios, like, no matter how or what you do with army building, you're going to come across the players or units that people are going to always pick because they're better, they're stronger, right? Like, it happens all the time. But when you start playing these scenarios, now you have to kind of start looking at different things. Is my army of 8 order dice actually going to be effective? I don't know. Well, we're not playing on even points anymore, right? So me taking that veteran army of German grenadiers with whatever, equipped with whatever, well, that may not work anymore, because now I have to deal with 150 infantry that are going to just completely swarm me and eventually
you only get half dick and shoot too. So you bring 8 units. You bring 8 units, and some of them have to be transports, because every infantry has to have a transport. So you bring 8 order dice. Forget it. You get half that can't shoot.
So you kind of have to look at that kind of stuff too. And so that's the one thing with these scenarios. And honestly, like, we have played some other scenarios from one of the other books, but there's so many campaign books that we haven't even touched yet.
Oh my god, yeah.
Right, which essentially, I mean, we will have 2 desert forces soon enough, all done up.
Western Desert, brother.
Yep. So that would be pretty fun to do.
I happen to know a guy with a shitload of desert terrain.
Desert terrain, yeah, I know a guy too. He let me use it in our last event, which was super awesome. Jason. So, but that's the one thing I love about bolt action, right? It's just it seemed like the passion for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
The passion for it, the game, playing these scenarios, the historical part of it, and then, like, even the terrain, the passion of going into the terrain, like the terrain building. A lot of times you see, like, homemade terrain, and I tend to get more excited with, like, people's scratch-built terrain than I do with these plastic kits that companies have made. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like when I put
Right.
when I actually put your terrain out, that mosque thing that you have with the
Oh yeah. Yeah.
right with the dome, and then you used like those uh, I don't know if they're like door knobs or little like cabinet knobs that
You
kind
know
of look
what they were?
marbled.
They were curtain fennials, like
Okay, there you go.
the ends of curtain rods.
There you go. But you used them, and I was like, that is a freaking brilliant idea. Like,
Sweet.
and I showed it off. I showed it off to like Bill, and he was just like smirking. I was like, damn, that's pretty good, you know?
Sweet.
Yeah. And then just stuff like that, and then also like in setting up the terrain, I put Charlie the camel out there,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
beside a little piece of water or something like that, and
Oh, I should have mentioned. I should have mentioned at hobby time. The other thing that I painted the animal box. I have
oh,
all the
sweet,
animals. I have a whole farm worth of animals.
nice, that's awesome.
Sweet,
That's
random,
awesome.
but yeah, for the to add to, yeah, I love all the, and even the plastic kits. They're great, but you can make them better just by adding a poster. Like it's such a small, or a gun abandoned, propped up in the corner. A helmet, uh, whatever. Something that makes it yours
And there's
and makes it feel lived in. Like it's not just
true.
you know a piece of terrain. It's a place that these little soldiers are fighting over. And that's why like things like adding a backyard to a house makes a house 10 times better. No matter how gorgeous you make that house on that table, if you don't have a little fence around the back, you're like, oh, that's a nice house. But if you add the little fence around the back, oh my God, look at that amazing
Just
house.
brings the depth into it, right? So
Totally. But God forbid you put a clothesline or something out. Whoa, this house is amazing.
yeah.
That's the best house I ever seen.
See, and that's the beautiful thing with these scenarios, and like even with this one, because I know you have a little village and everything, right?
Yeah.
You can throw some haystacks here and there, kind of thing, and crossroads if you wanted, kind of thing, right? But as we go through these scenarios, like I think we have probably a majority of the terrain to do these scenarios,
Well, we have everything,
you know.
brother.
But if there's anything
The
that
one
we need, it's easy enough for us to like, okay, sit down and okay, we need to build some of these, kind of thing, right? So,
Yeah, now it's the matter of, hey, let's work on a building, not
yes.
a table. you
Yeah.
know, big commitment difference.
Yeah, and it's funny as we're talking about this and the scenarios, and of course this scenario is pretty simple for terrain, but like across from me, I'm looking at part of the tractor factory that I had purchased a few years
Yeah.
ago, and I had finally pulled out the one that I had assembled, and there's like 3 other parts to it that I need to do, so that will be coming up. So that we can use that kind of thing as well. And then
Yeah.
I just and also because I also got that little demo set from that Micro Art Studios.
Oh yeah,
Um,
that stuff looked hot,
so
dude.
yeah, so for anybody who's actually checking out the YouTube, if not, you can always check out the YouTube later. I will have a little review of these kits and stuff too. But I did put one together.
Oh, dude.
Just a little shack. It looks pretty cool. It's very simple. It's very smooth and it's really nice. It's
Is
solid.
it MDF or is it card?
Nope, it's MDF.
MDF, and it's like printed on the front, or what
Yeah.
is that?
So this is all printed. So
Ah,
so this is printed, and what it is there's a film that is on top of it, kind of like a sticker,
oh,
and you
okay.
just pull that off, right? And It's a smooth finish. Was very easy to assemble. Came off of the sprues quite well. The wood glue went to it quite quickly, and it's solid. So as little things that you can do to it, like I'll probably paint this inside here to darken it up, kind of thing, right? Which is minor, and then like touch up the edges that I sanded a little bit, just to get rid of some of the little things. If I want, I can paint the underscale that same kind of brown. But other than that, pretty solid, pretty good. I have more kits of these to put together and to preview as well.
Sweet.
So
it looks tight, and from a pricing standpoint, they're fairly similar to other products. So yeah, it looks sweet, dude. They had like a little cafe and a like little garage, and it's kind of like Normandy themed. Hey, like,
yeah. So they have a Normandy set, and I got a few of those pieces. I'll probably try to order their bundle to make a table out of it.
I think I'm looking at that because I got I think I have 30 buildings for a town.
Yeah.
So I think throwing those in just to mix it up a little.
Exactly. And those are they're nice. They're all done up, and I mean, I don't mind paying a little bit of a higher price to have stuff like that done, because all it means is I just have to glue it. That's it.
And but to be honest, like the price from the Warlord sites were not crazy over what I've seen. That kind of terrain.
I think this terrain is going to be the same, if not better, than you remember the foreground stuff.
Yeah.
So because it's as solid as that, 100%.
Yeah, it is. One big thing I liked about foreground stuff is like each wall isn't just a piece of MDF. It's 2 or 3 or 4 pieces of MDF glued together in different ways to give you the shapes.
So
it really does become quite solid. Like those Stalingrad apartments are pretty friggin' solid. Those are 3 pieces making up that 3 MDF sheets essentially glued together to give the wall thickness.
Yeah, and essentially, like, I also have in my hand here, if you're looking on YouTube as well, like that's part of the tractor factory, right, from Sarisa Precision.
Yeah,
it's really thin, like it's super thin. That that's gonna break. These will break eventually. But
to be fair, I do love Sarisa Precision. I have a metric garbage ton of it.
Don't get me wrong.
And
great company too, right?
Super good to deal with.
Yeah.
Like if you have an issue or something. For instance, I broke the Pegasus Bridge. One of the pieces, I broke it. Completely my fault. Nothing to do with the building. It was me because I'm an idiot. And I emailed them like, can I buy this piece separate? I don't mind. It was my mistake. I messed up. And they're like, yeah, we'll just send it to you in the mail, free, no worries.
Yeah.
And I got it like a week later, free. Shipping. No, I didn't pay shipping or anything.
Yeah, they're pretty good too. And
yeah,
a lot of good companies out there for terrain like that. Some kits I kind of I had bought and that were kind of like
too thin. That's their.
Yeah, exactly. Too thin.
Especially on anything that's like a rail. Like a really train track or a fence, like anything that's I don't know if I'm describing it properly, like a post. Yeah. Those are just not sturdy enough.
Yeah, there's no support to it, right? And
yeah.
like, I mean, building those wired fences for scenarios and stuff, it was a struggle. I had to reinforce things, and
Yeah.
I must have
They look good.
snapped, I don't know how many of them in the past. So it was like, nope, time to reinforce these with like some resin and shit, right? And just,
They look amazing, though.
yeah, they do. Everybody
They
liked them.
look so good.
Everybody liked them, so it was good. It was good. But yeah, like, going back to the scenarios and stuff, especially with this one, very excited to get back on track and get to playing these. It'll be awesome to go through the book again, and some of these bigger battles, and the different, getting to try out some of the different units as well, because you're limited to what you're taking.
Yeah, that's another thing I'm liking about the scenarios is it forces you to take the list. Well, I mean, you can play it more open if you want to, or you can pickle it around to be what you want, but trying to stay true to them
Yes.
forces you to take a list that maybe you wouldn't use, forces you to take units that maybe you wouldn't take. You can't just take, well, obviously this unit is the best unit, so I'm taking it. Well, you can't. You're not allowed in this one. So okay, well, what do I take instead? Oh, so you start changing your tactic. It makes each game a bit of a new game. It certainly is not the same old.
Yeah, exactly. It's pretty good. And there's some pretty neat scenarios, because we have played a few of these in the past. Just pick up games, and we just tried some of them. We had to fandangle a couple of the scenarios to fit the armies, but there's a few that are interesting. I do like the sniper duel, I think it is.
Oh yeah, that's a fun one.
Yeah, so that'll
Yeah.
be a fun one to do. Yeah, sniper duel scenario 11. So, but when we get to that, you guys will hear about it.
You know what I think I'm going to have to do something for the grain elevator.
The great, yeah.
That's one thing.
Save those Pringles.
Yeah, we're going to have to figure something out because we have factories, check. We have cities for days, check. We have rural, check. We have emplacements and barbed wire and minefields, check. Trains, check. We got all that, but you know what we don't have? A grain elevator.
Yeah.
We got a couple scenarios. We got a ways to go. I don't think we need it till scenario 16 or something.
No.
But
we'll get there. It'll be fun. It'll be fun to do and fun to build and get the armies all done up and stuff too. Takes a whole bunch of pictures, share it with you guys. So
that's the other thing I'm liking about doing the book is at first it was a big push. It was a lot of work to get the table, to get pretty much the base of what you need for city, and but now is the fun part where it's let's add this thing, let's add this, we get this, and then things are slowly getting bigger, and then you look back at the end of it, we'll have all of that terrain,
yeah,
we'll have it all ready to pull out of the bag whenever we need.
Yeah, exactly.
Because who needs space in their house? Who needs it? Nobody.
Yeah,
Nobody needs it. Let's
I
fill every nook and cranny we can with as much terrain as we can until our families leave us.
Yeah, Jesus. Yeah, I'm pretty lucky so far with that I don't have a huge abundance of terrain, but I know Bill has a massive load of like 40K, 30K terrain that he has. He's got a pretty nifty little storage area for it in his house, and you wouldn't believe that he had that much. But it's all nicely organized and stuff too. So, when the guy has enough terrain literally to like supply for a tournament on his own, And I'm not talking a small tournament. I'm talking like freaking like 46 man tournament kind of thing, you know.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to set up and see and like be like, holy smokes. So, but
Nice.
yeah, so I think that's kind of right about it. We'll be close to wrapping up here for this episode. Stay tuned for results of our game and stuff too that we'll kind of talk about, and then of course going into the next mission too. It should be fun. It'd be really fun to film it, but that is like a lot of work. I've been there.
Yeah.
But we'll have a lot of pictures and maybe I'll get some snippets of, you know, certain things that happen in the game and this and that. But yeah, it should be fun. Should be good getting back to it and sharing it with you guys as well. Also, let us know if you have played these scenarios and what you guys think. We always like to hear that and get feedback. You know,
help me win.
Yeah. Yeah.
Please.
I think you're in the lead for winning, though. Last I remember, I think you beat me in the last few missions or something like that.
No, so. I think I won the first one and the second one.
Yeah.
And then you won the last one we played. You remember you eked out that even though it looked really good for me, I got you bunged up on that bridge.
Oh yes.
You got that tank across the table, across
the Stug, yeah,
the river, and despite my best efforts, you were able to.
Was it the 4 out of like, or 4 or 6 out of like 30 something infantry or something like that?
I think I needed to kill 4 dudes.
Yeah,
and I would have won, but I didn't get it anyway.
It was a fun match. It was a good one, and the table was crazily epic. Just the mass board that we played on. But yeah, thanks for joining, Jason, as always.
No worries.
We'll have more shits and gigs to talk about in the future. So
woohoo!
And thank you guys for listening as well and checking out our episodes and stuff like that. There's also the Instagram, Patreon, all that stuff. So yeah, check it out. Give us a like, subscribe, and send us pictures. Show us what you're working on. You know, maybe send us lists, that kind of stuff. Always like to check that out. Yeah, show me what you got. So, but again, thank you for tuning in, and we will catch you guys next time.
Adios.